Any homeowner will tell you that every house has its own unique sounds and quirks. That's why, when one pest control specialist received a call about a noise in the wall, he didn't think too much of it. However, as soon as he removed a brick from the wall, he got a surprise that he wasn't expecting at all. In September, one family living in their house in Tennessee started hearing strange noises coming from their walls. They weren't sure what the noise was, so they assumed that an animal must be stuck inside the walls. Animals getting stuck in between the walls of your house is a pretty common occurrence. In winter, when it gets colder and you're heating up, this can lead to them getting trapped between the walls where they will likely be found later. However, as the months passed by, the noises didn't seem to go away. The homeowners were beginning to get worried as the noises only got worse. That's when the family came to the conclusion that it had to be an insect problem. They then decided to invest in a DIY bug bomb and deployed it in the walls. At that point, they thought for sure that they had gotten rid of the noise problem. However, the bug bomb didn't seem to fix the problem at all. The noise was still lingering in the walls, and the family decided that at this point that they needed to call a professional. So, the family called up pest control specialist David Glover. David felt quite confident that if there were any bug, that he would be able to get them out. After all, David has had years of experience in getting rid of rodents. However, nothing could have prepared him for what he would soon discover in the walls. As David was looking around the house, he soon discovered a weep hole, a small opening that allows water to drain from. Then he discovered another small gap between the kitchen window and the brick. He figured that those openings could have been an entry point for an animal. David decided that in order to get an idea of what was lodged in the wall, that he would use his infrared camera. The camera is able to pick up on heat, which would allow David to see what is hiding in the walls. However, when David got back the images, he was shocked by the size of whatever was hiding in their home. David immediately decided to attempt and smoke out whatever was in the walls, just in case they were incredibly dangerous. He also began to put out some natural insect repellent to prevent them from escaping to other parts of the walls.
Also, if you've not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these animal stories every day. Now, back to the story.
While the insects were stunned by the gases, David decided to continue to open up the weeping holes some more. As he removed the brick, his suspicions were immediately confirmed. You won't believe what he found inside the wall. As David removed the brick, he realized that the intruders in the house were a hive of busy honeybees. The honeycomb was enormous, and David knew that this was going to be a difficult removal. He knew this wasn't going to be easy at all. As David continued to remove each layer of brick, he only began to get more and more overwhelmed. Each layer only revealed more and more of the beehive. It seemed as if the beehive was never ending. David continued to remove layer after layer of bricks. Soon, he had managed to remove 5 whole layers. When he finally saw just how massive the beehive was, he couldn't believe his eyes. It almost didn't feel real. The hive was the most enormous one that David had ever seen in his entire life. The honeycomb practically took up a whole chunk of the house. Everyone was in shock that something that massive had been hiding inside of the walls. As David began to inspect the situation, he noticed that the honeycomb had 13 capped queen cells, each with a separate virgin queen bee. It was obvious to David that this honeycomb wasn't just taking up space. It was continuing to expand more and more. As David continued to look through, he noticed that there was a large number of dead bees on the left-hand side. That was where the family had managed to detonate the home bug bomb. However, that small bomb was no match against an entire colony of bees. Although David knew that the bee colony couldn't continue to live inside of the walls of the house, he didn't want to exterminate them. He couldn't rightfully contribute to the effects of the mass bee deaths occurring all throughout the world. So instead, he figured out a way to relocate them. David started to remove chunks of the honeycomb from the house, and it soon began to get quite trippy. At one point, David described the situation as if a construction crew in this part of the hive was dropping acid. That's how intricate the curves and tunnels of the honeycomb construction were. Even though David was basically ripping apart their home, the bees were surprisingly very cooperative. In fact, a few of the bees even landed on David's shoulders and rested on him. This made relocating them even easier than he expected. Once David had finished clearing up the porch, he was amazed by the imprint that was left behind. Kind of cool. It's good to see your mom's warnings finally paid off, David said as he laughed. Now David will begin delivering the bees over to various honey farms. By gifting some bees to farmers, David wants to lend a hand at the many of the farms experiencing colony losses. After all, bees are essential for our ecosystem.